Today on Artifactually Speaking, a round clay ball.
Clay ball.
I'm Dr. Brad Hafford, archaeologist at the University of Pennsylvania, and I'm here at the ancient city of Nimrud, known as Kalhu to the Assyrians, and I'm sitting in the gate chamber between the Ishtar Temple and the Ninurta Temple. This appears to have been one large complex. The two deities were closely associated because both had an aspect as war deities. The Assyrians were very warlike, so they would take over cities on the fringe, and the ones that survived they would bring back into the heartland in order to try to assimilate them and make them Assyrian. Meanwhile, they'd send people who are already identifying as Assyrian out into those towns in order to make them Assyrian and control the edges where there might be rebellion. Well, that meant that the chief god of this city was Ninurta, the war deity, but he was also an agriculture deity. And then there was Ishtar, who is war and love. And their temples are so close that really you had to enter the Ishtar Temple before you could enter the Ninurta Temple. At least that's what it looks like right now. We don't have any other entrances. There might be one to the south because we haven't quite excavated there. But one thing that we're finding in the Ishtar Temple, in fairly large numbers, are these, well, fragments of these anyway. This one we found in 3 pieces, and our conservator has put it together this year, finding that they match up. But we've got a lot of other pieces. It's really just a round clay ball that's been painted so that it's got a dark stripe on each of the sides that are near the hole, and then a light stripe right in the middle. They're almost always like that, and they're usually described as decorative clay knobs. We don't know exactly what they were used for, but we do know that the temple was highly decorated, and we get glazed bricks of all sorts. We think they were up near the ceiling, and they have all sorts of geometric designs and sometimes curvilinear, and they're usually in these colors, though we get yellow and green, and we've now seen some blue that tends to fade pretty quickly. So we know that this was highly decorated, but did they just put these along the wall, and why would they do that? There are several that Layard found, and Mallowan has found them too, almost always in the temples. And they're catalogued now in the British Museum as ceremonial mace heads. Well, mace heads do exist, and we find them in temples sometimes. They're usually stone, and they might be inscribed as dedicated to a particular deity. The war deity carries a mace. He likes to hit people on the head, so I can see why they might say that. It's clay, so it's not going to be used for actual battle, so that's probably why they say ceremonial. But then how was it used? Did people carry them around? Did all the priests have one? Did you buy them at the gift shop? Obviously, I'm joking there, but it does feel like, oh, I visited Ninurta and maybe I would carry away a ceremonial mace head. It wouldn't work that way. There's a chance that you might have something here that you could then dedicate to the god. You might get a mace, a fake mace, in order to put in front of the god and ask for success in warfare. But it would be kings that would do that, and they would probably have a really nice stone mace head. So I really don't think that's what these are. I think that the decorative knob sounds a bit better. In fact, I can see that maybe they would have a wooden dowel in the wall, and that this would be a kind of finial to stick there to make sure that it's both visible and secure. Maybe you would put bitumen in here and it would stick. And then you could tie things to that dowel that was out of the wall. Maybe they were hanging textiles, tapestries, or something like that. We just don't know. We do get plaster on the walls, and I'm in the southern portion of the gate chamber that we've revealed this year, and we have some plaster right here behind me. It doesn't appear to be painted. This has gone kind of pinkish red, but that might be from the fire. But if there was a design, it was probably up here, and all of that plaster has fallen off. In the palaces, we do get some painted plaster with designs, so they might have been painting right there on the walls. But maybe textiles were hung. But it didn't have to be that. It could just be something to tie something to or to hang something on, and it would be much more, decorative and recognizable if it had one of these on it. In the south, we do find door plaques of sorts. They're usually square, and they have a square hole in the center, and they've got all this decoration on them. And that we know, we find them usually near doors. They were on the side of the door, and a big post came out of it, and that post was to secure the door. You would tie it shut by using that. This maybe is something like that, but it's smaller, and I think for more mundane things, you hang your cloak on it. I don't know, but I do think that it's a decorative knob, whatever we want to call it, and that it kind of matched with the other decorations. These maybe were lower down on the wall, whereas the bricks with all the design were higher up. Ashurnasirpal tells us he built this temple, because he tells us in an inscription, of course. He built it out of cedar wood in the roofs, and there is a hole in our floor here that I think a post came out of that maybe a standard was on, a kind of flag or something. And he says that he coated a lot of this with gold plate and with silver, that he put stone and bronze animals to guard the gates. So this was a really impressive place. And although I don't find these all that impressive, they would add to the interest of the walls. Well, I hope you've enjoyed exploring this clay ball with me, and I hope you'll join me again on the next Artifactually Speaking.
Play ball.